Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the high-stakes, action-packed logistics of global maritime trade. Picture it, a gleaming, sun-drenched cargo port. You've got towering cranes moving with absolute mechanical precision, and thousands of vibrantly colored steel boxes crisscrossing the globe. It's honestly like a giant, beautiful logistical symphony. But what actually happens when the music stops and a massive piece of that puzzle just goes missing?
Imagine standing right there on those bustling docks. The salty breeze is in the air, things are moving fast, and suddenly, a tally sheet comes up short. Where did the cargo go? I mean, how does the world handle millions of tons of valuable goods, everything from smartphones to textiles, without losing it all to the abyss of the ocean or, to thieves? When these massive, super valuable shipments vanish into thin air, a highly structured, almost cinematic series of protocols kicks right into gear.
Which brings us to Phase 1, the investigation, tracking down missing cargo. Because when things go wrong on the docks, clearing agents have to immediately step into the spotlight and navigate two very distinct, high-pressure investigative paths. Basically, when cargo goes off the rails, you're usually facing one of two completely different scenarios. First up, we have short landing. This is the ultimate vanishing act. The cargo is just completely gone. When this happens, the port authorities and shipping companies essentially send out these massive global tracers to every single port of call to hunt it down. On the flip side, we have partial loss or damage. Here, the cargo arrived, sure, but it's broken, spoiled, or maybe tampered with. And that triggers an entirely different sequence, an urgent ship survey to figure out exactly how and why the damage happened in the first place. Now, to actually solve a short landing mystery and make a successful claim, you can't just walk up to the authorities and say, "Hey, I lost my stuff." No way. You've got to rapidly assemble 4 exact documents to prove your case. Think of it like a detective's checklist. You need your claim bill for the cargo's value, the commercial invoice and packing list, the official short landing certificate from the port authorities confirming the goods are actually missing, and finally, the golden ticket of all maritime trade, the bill of lading.
But what if that port authority's trace takes way too long and your business is literally bleeding money waiting for an answer? Enter the concept of subrogation. It's kind of like a financial lifeline. If the delay gets ridiculous, you can sign a letter of subrogation. This lets you accept an immediate payout from your insurance underwriters. In return, you transfer all your rights of recovery over to them. Basically, you're tagging in these heavy-hitting insurance companies, letting them step into the ring to fight the long legal battle with the shipping company for you.
Now, if you're dealing with a partial loss or damaged goods, the scene totally shifts, and a very different clock starts ticking. You have a customary window of just 3 days from the last date of discharge to request a joint survey. Literally just 72 hours to get representatives from both the carrier and the cargo interests right out there onto the docks to investigate the cause, the nature, and the full extent of the damage together.
So how do we actually calculate the financial hit of that damage? Well, a lot of underwriters will just try to pay out the insured value and call it a day. But the law is actually way more precise than that. Damages are based on the sound arrived market value. This means you take the invoice price, add the freight, add the customs duty, add your expected profit on resale, and then you subtract whatever salvage value the damaged goods still hold. The whole goal is to restore you to the exact market position you would have been in if the delivery had been perfect. Let's move into our next phase. The ticking claim clock, statutes of limitation. We really need to look at the incredible statutory pressure placed on the innocent holder of that bill of lading. Because under maritime laws, like the Indian Carriage of Goods by Sea Act, you absolutely do not have forever to build your case. You have exactly 1 year from the date the goods landed, or at least when they should have landed, to settle your claims or formally file a suit in a court of law. Just 1 year. If that 365-day mark passes, your claim is statutorily time-barred. The window just slams shut. Boom. Done.
Next up is the price of liability, a century of evolving value. If the carrier is actually found liable, how much do they really have to pay out per missing package?
It's fascinating to see how this has built up over the last century. To combat global inflation and all sorts of currency conflicts, international maritime law has had to constantly evolve. Back in 1924, liability was capped at the intrinsic gold value of 100 pounds sterling. We're talking literally 100 physical gold sovereigns. But as you can guess, when paper money stopped being backed by gold, absolute chaos ensued. So in 1950, they tried a paper currency limit. By 1968, they shifted to a notional gold unit called francs Poncare. And finally, in 1979, the world adopted a modern international banking standard just to stabilize all these claims across different nations.
And that whole evolution brings us to this one very specific number. Today, under modern rules, like the Multimodal Act, the baseline liability limit is strictly capped at 666.67 special drawing rights, or SDRs per package. Or, if you want to look at it differently, 2 SDRs per kilo of gross weight. Now, you might be wondering, what is an SDR? It's basically a reserve asset created by the International Monetary Fund, and its actual value fluctuates daily based on a basket of the world's top currencies.
But, okay, here's the ultimate plot twist in our maritime story. You aren't actually permanently locked to that 666.67 limit. A clever shipper can totally bypass these maximums legally. How? Simply by operating in the light. All you have to do is declare the cargo's true nature and actual value upfront and insert it directly onto the bill of lading before the shipment even leaves. Do that, and those standard limits go right out the window for your highly valuable goods.
Let's pivot to customs duty and costs, and the financial fallout of lost goods. Because we have to ask, what happens to the government's cut when cargo goes missing on the docks?
Well, the financial fallout here is sharply divided. While the innocent importer has a bit of a lifeline, they can actually claim a refund from customs for the duty they paid on those missing goods, as long as they file within 6 months. The ship owner faces a completely different reality. Customs doesn't just shrug and say, oh, well. No, they levy a strict, heavy financial penalty against the carrier for losing or destroying those goods. It really adds some severe government insult to the carrier's financial injury.
And that brings us to a masterclass in cargo protection, the ultimate defense strategy. Because these financial penalties and claims procedures are just so intensely punishing, carriers have to proactively employ what is essentially an ultimate anti-heist strategy. It's all designed to keep the global supply chain gleaming and secure. This defense has to start right out there on the physical front lines. First, a carrier must completely master stowage, really understanding exactly how different cargoes behave while in transit. They also have to actively guard against the hasty damage caused by fast-paced, piece-rate port labor, who, honestly, might use destructive metal hooks on fragile bagged cargo just to move faster. Plus, carriers absolutely must demand 100% accurate, itemized tallies from port authorities to ensure a flawless paper trail. And once everything is unloaded, cargo has to be immaculately stacked by consignment just to avoid any chaotic mix-ups in those deeply congested landing sheds.
Which brings us to what is perhaps the greatest anti-heist invention in modern history, the humble shipping container. Think about it. Containerization doesn't just offer amazing structural protection, it offers protection through absolute anonymity. By making millions of massive steel boxes look practically identical from the outside, you completely hide the valuables. A thief literally has no idea if a container holds $5 million in smartphones or 20 tons of scrap paper. It slashes pilferage simply by blinding the criminals. It's brilliant.
The final layers of this defense strategy feel like they're pulled straight out of an espionage thriller. You pack the goods to withstand extreme transit forces, obviously. But then you mark the packages with covert code words rather than printing super expensive electronics right on the side. Use indelible ink or super high-quality paint so shipping marks absolutely cannot be erased or altered by thieves. And crucially, you strictly restrict the circulation of the cargo documents, making sure only a tiny, tight circle of authorized personnel ever knows what is moving and exactly where it is.
But at the end of the day, all the indelible ink, the heavy steel containers, and the special drawing rights in the world bring us to this one unavoidable truth. Any security system is only as good as the people who organize and run it. Despite all the brilliant international laws and massive physical defenses we've explored in this explainer, the safety of global trade ultimately relies on the vigilance, the integrity, and the sheer focus of the humans orchestrating the journey. So, the next time you order something from across the globe and it arrives perfectly intact, remember the cinematic high-stakes system working tirelessly in the background. Ask yourself, how many unseen heroes just fought to ensure your cargo didn't vanish into the blue?